Get this, you are sitting across from someone who seems genuinely interested in you, who asks thoughtful questions, who appears to care deeply about your well-being. You open up, share your fears, reveal your insecurities, discuss your dreams. You trust them. But what you don't realize is that every word you speak is being cataloged, analyzed, and weaponized. That person isn't connecting with you, they're studying you. And everything they're learning will eventually be used to control, manipulate, or exploit you. This is dark psychology in action, the deliberate use of psychological principles and tactics to influence, control, or harm others for personal gain. Unlike everyday persuasion or even normal manipulation, dark psychology operates from a place of calculated malice. These aren't people who occasionally behave badly or make selfish choices. These are individuals who systematically apply psychological techniques specifically designed to break down your defenses, compromise your judgment, and bend you to their will. The science behind dark psychology is rooted in what researchers call the dark triad of personality traits: narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. Studies suggest that approximately 10 to 15% of the population exhibits significant levels of at least one of these traits, and those who score high across all three are particularly dangerous. They lack empathy, feel no remorse for harm they cause, and view other people as tools to be used rather than humans to be respected. What makes dark psychology so dangerous is its sophistication. These aren't crude tactics that you can easily recognize and defend against. They're refined psychological operations designed by people who understand how the human mind works and know exactly how to exploit its vulnerabilities. They use principles from neuroscience, social psychology, and behavioral economics, the same principles therapists use to help people, but twisted toward harmful ends. You might be thinking, this sounds extreme, this can't be that common. But the truth is, if you've ever felt confused about why you keep giving someone chance after chance despite their behavior, if you've ever found yourself doing things that go against your values because someone convinced you it was necessary, if you've ever felt like you were losing your mind in a relationship where reality seemed to shift constantly, you may have already been a target of dark psychology. Today, we're going to expose 5 critical signs that someone is using dark psychology against you. These aren't just red flags, they're alarm bells. We'll explore the specific techniques being used, why they work on a psychological level, and most importantly, how you can recognize them, resist them, and fight back. Because the first step in defending yourself against dark psychology is understanding exactly what you're up against. By the end of this, you'll have a psychological armor that these manipulators can't penetrate. You'll recognize the tactics in real time, understand the game they're playing, and know exactly how to protect yourself. Let's pull back the curtain on dark psychology and expose these predators for what they really are. Sign 1. They use love bombing followed by devaluation to create addiction. The first sign that someone is using dark psychology against you is a specific pattern called love bombing followed by devaluation, and it's one of the most powerful psychological manipulation tactics because it literally creates an addiction to the manipulator. Love bombing is an intense campaign of affection, attention, and idealization. When you first meet this person, or early in the relationship, they shower you with more attention than you've ever experienced. They text constantly, want to spend every moment with you, give you elaborate compliments, declare intense feelings very quickly, and make you feel like you're the most special person in the world. This isn't normal attraction or falling in love quickly. The intensity is overwhelming and designed to be. They mirror your values, interests, and desires perfectly. They claim you have a deep, almost spiritual connection. They talk about the future together after knowing you for days or weeks. They give you expensive gifts, plan elaborate dates, and make grand romantic gestures. It feels like a fairy tale, like you finally found someone who truly sees you and loves you completely. Here's what's actually happening psychologically. Love bombing floods your brain with dopamine, oxytocin, and other feel-good neurochemicals. You experience a literal high from their attention. Your brain becomes conditioned to associate this person with intense pleasure and validation. You become psychologically dependent on the feelings they create, which is exactly what they want. But here's the dark part. Just when you're fully invested, fully attached, fully addicted to this feeling, they suddenly withdraw. This is the devaluation phase. The person who couldn't stop texting you suddenly takes hours or days to respond. The one who called you perfect now criticizes you. The affection disappears. The warmth turns cold. They become distant, critical, or even hostile. This sudden withdrawal creates panic. You've become addicted to their validation, and now it's being taken away. Your brain goes into withdrawal just like with any addictive substance. You become desperate to get back to the love bombing phase, to feel that high again. And this is where the real control begins. You start modifying your behavior, trying to figure out what you did wrong, what changed, how you can get back to how things were. You ignore red flags, accept unacceptable behavior, and compromise your boundaries because you're chasing that initial feeling. The manipulator has created what psychologists call intermittent reinforcement, the most powerful form of conditioning known to behavioral science. Then, just when you're about to give up, they love bomb you again. They're suddenly affectionate, attentive, apologetic. They make you feel special again. Your brain floods with relief and dopamine, reinforcing your attachment to them even more strongly. This cycle of idealization and devaluation repeats, and each cycle makes you more dependent, more confused, and more controlled. What makes this particularly insidious is that you blame yourself for the devaluation. If I just communicate better, if I'm more understanding, if I don't upset them, things will be good again. You don't realize that the devaluation is intentional, that it has nothing to do with your behavior and everything to do with their strategy to control you. This pattern is common in relationships with narcissists and psychopaths. It's also used by cult leaders, abusive partners, and toxic bosses. The cycle creates trauma bonding, where you become attached specifically because of the pain and uncertainty, not despite it. Breaking free becomes incredibly difficult because you're not just leaving a person, you're going through withdrawal from the neurochemical addiction they've created. If you notice this pattern of intense idealization, followed by sudden devaluation and withdrawal, followed by renewed attention in a repeating cycle, you're dealing with someone using dark psychology. This isn't normal relationship ups and downs. This is calculated psychological manipulation designed to create dependency and control. Sign 2. They employ strategic gaslighting to make you doubt your reality. The second sign of dark psychology is systematic gaslighting, not just occasional denial or disagreement, but a calculated campaign to make you doubt your perception, memory, and sanity. This is psychological warfare designed to break down your trust in your own mind. Gaslighting in the context of dark psychology is highly strategic. The manipulator doesn't gaslight randomly. They target specific perceptions that, if you doubted them, would make you more controllable. They want you to depend on their version of reality, because once you can't trust your own mind, you have to trust theirs. This starts with small things. They say they'll be somewhere at a certain time. They don't show up, And when you mention it, they insist they told you a different time. You remember a conversation clearly, and they claim it never happened or happened completely differently. They make a promise, break it, then deny ever making it. Each individual instance seems minor, and their conviction in their version is so strong that you start to doubt yourself. As this progresses, they gaslight about bigger things. They deny saying hurtful things you heard clearly. They claim you did things you know you didn't do. They rewrite entire events, and their version paints you as unreasonable, oversensitive, or unstable, while portraying themselves as patient and reasonable. What makes this psychological manipulation so effective is that they often gaslight you in front of others. When you have witnesses who seem to support their version or who don't contradict it, your doubt intensifies. Maybe I am remembering wrong. Maybe I am being oversensitive. Everyone else seems to think I'm the problem. The manipulator using dark psychology takes this further with what's called gaslighting by proxy. They tell others that you're unstable, forgetful, or emotionally volatile. Then, when you try to talk to those people about what's happening, they've already been primed to doubt you. "He told me you've been having some issues with memory lately. Are you okay?" Now you're defending your sanity to people who've been preemptively convinced you're unstable. They also use your reactions against you. After weeks or months of gaslighting, you become understandably upset, anxious, or emotionally reactive. The manipulator then points to these reactions as proof that you're unstable. "See how you're acting? This is exactly what I was talking about. You're being irrational." Your natural response to being psychologically abused becomes evidence that you need their help or that your perceptions can't be trusted. The ultimate goal is to make you completely dependent on them for your sense of reality. Once you can't trust your own mind, you have to trust theirs. Once you're in that state, they can convince you of almost anything. They can make you accept blame for things that aren't your fault, doubt evidence of their wrongdoing, and believe that you're the problem in the relationship. This is dark psychology at its most destructive because it doesn't just control your behavior, it compromises your basic psychological functioning. You become unable to trust yourself, which makes you unable to make independent decisions, set boundaries, or recognize abuse. You're trapped in a reality they control. If you find yourself constantly questioning your memory, feeling like you're going crazy, or being told by someone that your clear recollections are wrong with disturbing frequency, you're experiencing systematic gaslighting. This isn't normal disagreement or different perspectives. This is intentional psychological manipulation designed to destroy your trust in your own mind. Sign 3. They use selective disclosure and strategic vulnerability to exploit you. The third sign of dark psychology is the calculated use of vulnerability and secrets to manipulate you. Unlike genuine intimacy where people share vulnerabilities to deepen connection, dark psychology practitioners share strategically to create specific responses that benefit them. Here's how this works. Early in the relationship, they share something deeply personal, often a trauma, struggle, or vulnerability. This sharing seems to indicate trust and creates instant intimacy. You feel honored that they opened up to you, you feel connected to them, and crucially, you feel obligated to reciprocate, so you share your own vulnerabilities. But here's the manipulation. Their disclosure was strategic, not authentic. They've shared this particular story countless times because they know exactly how people respond to it. They know it generates sympathy, creates bonding, and gets people to lower their guard and share their own vulnerabilities. It's a trap. Once you've shared your fears, insecurities, traumas, and weaknesses, they have a roadmap for manipulating you. Every piece of information you've shared gets cataloged and will be used. Afraid of abandonment? They'll threaten to leave when they want compliance. Insecure about your intelligence? They'll subtly question your judgment. Ashamed of something in your past? They'll use it as leverage or threat. The manipulator using dark psychology also employs what's called emotional blackmail through shared secrets. Once you've both shared vulnerabilities, they frame it as a special bond that obligates you to certain behaviors. After everything I've told you, you should understand why I need this from you. They weaponize intimacy. They might also use strategic vulnerability to excuse harmful behavior. I'm sorry I treated you badly, but you know about my past trauma. This is just really triggering for me. They position their abuse as something you need to accommodate because of their wounds, turning you into the one responsible for managing their emotions and excusing their behavior. Another dark psychology technique is selective disclosure about others. They share secrets or private information about other people in their life, often framing it as concern or explanation. I probably shouldn't tell you this, but this serves multiple purposes. It makes you feel like an insider, part of a special circle. It gives you information that might keep you around out of concern or curiosity, and it demonstrates their willingness to violate privacy, which should warn you that your privacy won't be respected either. They also use your vulnerabilities as ammunition when they need to regain control. If you try to set boundaries or leave, suddenly the things you shared in confidence become weapons. They threaten to expose your secrets, they use your fears to manipulate you back into compliance, or they frame your vulnerabilities as evidence that you're the unstable one and they're the victim. What makes this particularly sophisticated is that the sharing seems mutual. You both disclosed, so it feels fair. But the difference is in the motivation and usage. You shared to create genuine intimacy and connection. They shared to extract your vulnerabilities and create leverage. Your vulnerability was authentic. Theirs was tactical. This tactic is common among those with Machiavellian and psychopathic traits. They understand that humans bond through vulnerability, so they simulate it to create false intimacy while actually gathering intelligence for exploitation. They're running a psychological operation where the currency is trust and the goal is control. If someone in your life has pressured you to share deeply personal information very quickly, seems to collect everyone's secrets, or has used your vulnerabilities against you when it suited them, you're dealing with strategic vulnerability exploitation, a hallmark of dark psychology. Sign 4. They create manufactured triangulation and competition to keep you off balance, insecure, and competing for their attention. This is a sophisticated control tactic that leverages human psychology around status, belonging, and jealousy. Triangulation occurs when the manipulator brings a third party into the dynamic between you and them, either real or imagined, to create jealousy, insecurity, or competition. They talk about how much they admire someone else, compare you unfavorably to others, or suggest that other people are vying for their attention or position in their life. The message is clear: you're replaceable. Others want what you have, and you need to work harder to keep their attention. This creates a constant state of insecurity that makes you more compliant and less likely to set boundaries or leave. In workplace settings, a manipulative boss might use triangulation by constantly comparing you to coworkers, suggesting others are outperforming you, or making you compete for recognition and resources. This keeps everyone insecure, prevents solidarity among workers, and ensures that people are focused on pleasing the manipulator rather than questioning their leadership. The dark psychology aspect is how intentional this is. The manipulator isn't just thoughtlessly comparing people, they're strategically engineering competition. They might praise someone else to you, then criticize that same person to someone else, ensuring everyone feels both superior and inferior simultaneously. No one feels secure, and everyone is competing for favor. They also use what psychologists call hot and cold treatment distributed unevenly. They're warm and attentive to you one day, cold and dismissive the next, while being warm to someone else. This creates anxiety about your standing and motivates you to work harder for their approval. You're always wondering, what did I do wrong? How do I get back in their good graces? This technique works because of fundamental human psychology. We're wired to seek belonging and status within our social groups. When those are threatened, we experience real psychological distress and will often modify our behavior significantly to regain security. The manipulator exploits this hardwiring. The ultimate effect of triangulation is that you never feel secure. You're always looking over your shoulder, always trying to prove yourself, always accepting less than you deserve because you fear being replaced. And this state of chronic insecurity makes you far more controllable than if you felt confident and secure. Sign 5. They use intermittent punishment and reward to condition your behavior. The fifth and final sign is the sophisticated use of intermittent reinforcement, specifically alternating between punishment and reward in unpredictable patterns to condition your behavior. This is arguably the most powerful psychological manipulation technique because it creates the strongest form of behavioral conditioning known to science. Here's how it works. The manipulator doesn't respond to your behavior consistently. Sometimes when you do something, you're rewarded with affection, approval, or attention. Other times, the exact same behavior results in criticism, withdrawal, or punishment. The unpredictability is the key. You can't figure out the pattern because there isn't one, or the pattern is deliberately inconsistent. This creates what psychologists call hypervigilance and persistent pursuit behavior. You become obsessed with figuring out what triggers positive responses versus negative ones. You constantly modify your behavior, trying different approaches, desperately seeking the formula that will consistently earn their approval. But there is no formula, which is exactly the point. Intermittent reinforcement is more powerful than consistent reinforcement. If someone always rewards a behavior, you become habituated to it. If they never reward it, you stop doing it. But if they sometimes reward and sometimes punish unpredictably, you become almost addicted to trying, hoping this will be the time it works. This is the same principle that makes gambling addictive. The manipulator using dark psychology employs this deliberately. They know that intermittent rewards create stronger attachment and compliance than consistent ones. So they're nice to you just often enough that you don't leave, but withhold affection often enough that you're always striving, always trying to please them, always walking on eggshells. This technique is often combined with the other dark psychology tactics. The love-bombing phase represents extreme positive reinforcement. The devaluation phase is punishment. The unpredictability of when each occurs creates the intermittent reinforcement schedule. Add gaslighting and you can't even clearly identify what behavior triggered which response, making the conditioning even more powerful. The effect on you is profound. You become anxious, hypervigilant, and focused entirely on the manipulator's reactions. Your sense of self-worth becomes dependent on their approval. You lose sight of your own needs, values, and boundaries because you're so focused on managing their responses. You're being behaviorally conditioned like a laboratory animal, except you're a human being in what's supposed to be a healthy relationship. Fighting back, defending yourself against dark psychology. Now that you can recognize these signs, let's discuss how to actively defend yourself and fight back against dark psychology. First and most importantly, break the isolation. Dark psychology thrives in secrecy and isolation. The moment you bring other people into the picture, trusted friends, family members, or therapists, the manipulator's power diminishes. Share what's happening with people you trust. Get outside perspectives. Manipulators fear exposure because manipulation works best in the dark. Document everything. Keep records of conversations, promises made and broken, incidents, and your own emotional state. Dark psychology creates so much confusion that having documentation helps you maintain clarity about what's actually happening versus what you're being told is happening. This is crucial for counteracting gaslighting. Establish and enforce rigid boundaries. With someone using dark psychology, boundaries must be non-negotiable and consistently enforced. Don't explain, don't justify, don't engage in lengthy discussions. State the boundary and maintain it. I won't tolerate being spoken to that way, or I'm not available for last-minute plans, and then follow through every single time. Learn to recognize and resist emotional manipulation. When you feel that pull to do something you don't want to do, that obligation despite knowing something is wrong, that guilt for setting boundaries, pause. These feelings are being engineered. Ask yourself, am I doing this because I genuinely want to, or because I'm being manipulated into it? Stop providing ammunition. Be extremely cautious about what vulnerabilities you share. With someone using dark psychology, every piece of personal information is a potential weapon. You don't have to share your fears, traumas, or insecurities with someone who has demonstrated they'll exploit them. Develop emotional independence. The addiction created by love bombing and intermittent reinforcement only works if you need their validation. Work on building self-worth that doesn't depend on any one person's approval. Cultivate relationships with multiple supportive people so you're not dependent on the manipulator for social or emotional needs. Educate yourself extensively on manipulation tactics. The more you understand about dark psychology, narcissistic abuse, gaslighting, and other manipulation techniques, the harder it becomes for them to work on you. Knowledge is genuinely protective here. Read books, watch educational content, talk to therapists who specialize in manipulation and abuse. Practice the gray rock method. This technique involves becoming as boring and unresponsive as possible to the manipulator. Give brief, unemotional responses. Don't react to provocations. Don't share interesting information about your life. Manipulators feed on emotional reactions and drama. When you become unresponsive, you become less interesting to manipulate. Plan your exit strategy. If you've identified that someone is using dark psychology against you, start planning how to safely remove them from your life. This might require practical preparations like financial independence, alternative housing, or legal protections. Dark psychology practitioners often escalate when they sense they're losing control, so safety planning is crucial. Consider professional help. Recovering from dark psychology manipulation often requires therapeutic support. A therapist trained in trauma and abuse can help you process the experience, rebuild your sense of reality and self-worth, and develop better protections against future manipulation. Finally, trust your instincts completely. If something feels wrong, it is wrong. Dark psychology works by getting you to doubt your instincts in favor of the manipulator's narrative. Reclaiming trust in your gut feelings is essential. Your instincts are picking up on danger signals your conscious mind might be rationalizing away. Understanding that someone has been using dark psychology against you is both disturbing and liberating. It's disturbing because it means someone has been deliberately manipulating your mind and emotions, but it's liberating because once you see the tactics clearly, they lose much of their power. You can't unknow what you now know. Dark psychology works through ignorance, confusion, and isolation. It requires you not to see the pattern, not to trust yourself, not to have outside perspectives that would reveal the manipulation. Every step you take toward awareness, documentation, boundaries, and support breaks the manipulator's control. Remember, the fact that someone used these tactics on you says everything about their character and nothing about your worth. You're not weak or foolish for being manipulated. These techniques are sophisticated precisely because they exploit normal human psychology. The same traits that made you vulnerable to manipulation, your capacity for trust, your ability to bond, your desire for connection, are actually strengths in healthy relationships. They were weaponized against you, but they remain your strengths, not weaknesses. You have the right to trust your own perceptions, to set boundaries, to require consistent and respectful treatment, and to remove people from your life who treat you harmfully. These are non-negotiable. These are fundamental rights that no manipulation should make you surrender. If you've recognized these signs in someone in your life, take action now. Don't wait for one more cycle, one more manipulation, one more compromise of your well-being. Document, establish boundaries, seek support, and plan your exit if necessary. The manipulation won't stop on its own, and it won't get better if you just try harder or love better. It stops when you recognize it, reject it, and remove its power over you. You are stronger than their manipulation, smarter than their tactics, and more valuable than they tried to make you believe. Fight back by seeing clearly, trusting yourself, and refusing to accept psychological abuse. Your mind is yours. Reclaim it.